Hi everyone. I'd like to share a little bit on some ideas that I have on an electric motor of a very different kind. And what you're looking at here is two very large 2-inch square neomagnets. It's 1 inch thick, and there's another 2-inch square by 1 inch thick. And these magnets are connected through this 1-inch steel rod. And this pole here, let's say this is a north pole, well, this is a north pole here too. So the poles are opposing each other. And normally these magnets you'd have to, because of the strength they are N50s, it even gets difficult to approach them that close because of the magnetic field being so strong. But the steel rod helps to make that connection. So you can imagine the amount of flux that's pushing here and to there, and there's a center point here, and that's how this motor is capable of operating. Is there's a neutral point here, and what I'm sending in this coil is basically square wave, which is a polarity flip, and that's why the coil flip-flops back and forth like that. So this motor would be a motor more in the range of a I would guess solenoid motor. That's what I'm looking for, because of its back and forth action like that. So here I could put a connecting rod and have a crankshaft, and obviously turn that back and forth motion in rotary. So therefore this could be a motor. The idea behind this motor is, instead of creating very large magnetic fields with a coil to push magnets and to overcome very large magnets as well, you need a lot of energy to do that. For instance, if you put very strong magnets in an electric motor, it doesn't necessarily give you a better performance, because now those magnets are obviously stronger, and you'll need a stronger magnetic field that your coil will have to do. So once you get to the point where the magnet, you need to oppose it to pass it through the coil, well, there's a lot of energy put in. So, but then again, when the magnet gets attracted to the steel core, well, it's very, very powerful. But then again, you have to put a lot of energy in there to get it away. So the idea here is kind of doing the opposite, utilizing the very strong magnets and utilizing the coil in a way where you take the most energy out of the coil, but not putting a core in the coil. So this is kind of opposite of the magnetic field is very strong, but that's coming from these magnets. Right now this is only a quarter, or maybe about 0.22 watts that I have measured accurately that's going through this coil, and yet it's capable of moving this mass of copper, which weighs about well, it's well over 1 pound. I think it's about close to, well, it's not quite 2 pounds, but it's definitely 1.5 pounds, let's say. Back and forth like this at 1.5 hertz, it would take quite a bit of energy. Now, a lot of energy is being lost as well, because that coil here, which is just dipped in epoxy, it's just riding on that steel rod there. So I just put a little bit of oil there, but there's quite a bit of friction. If I stop this, it stops. See, I have a hard time moving that. So there's a lot of energy that's, you know, being wasted right there. So this is the kind of thing that I'm going to be researching Right now, the center pole that this coil is creating, all the energy is working against or attracting and repelling with this field here. So that's an interesting thing about this motor concept. I don't know if it already exists, but this is some idea that I've come up with, and if it does exist, well, that's great. But if not, here's a new kind of concept to be looked at if anybody's interested. Now I'm only utilizing half the field that the coil is creating. There's a very large field that is also created all around the coil here, and what can be done is let's say this is the north side, we have our south side. The south side with steel again could be combined, and you can have steel going across from each south meeting again to the 0 point in the center here. And if it goes all around the coil, well, what we're seeing here of work, well, the force will actually double, maybe even more, who knows, I haven't built it. But obviously right now, as it is, I'm just using the field that's in the center of the coil, which I know is a very strong field and easy to get. But I'm quite sure that adding the south here all around it will now reinforce as well that pushing and pulling action. So that's one motor concept that I've had for a while, and I've just recently got all the magnets in and looking at different ways of building it. Now this coil is not ideal either. That's about a 30 microhenry, 30 millihenry coil, and it has about a DC resistance of 7.5 ohms. And I think the ideal coil, from my understanding, would be a coil that would actually be a little bit more than half the length of this bar, okay? And that way you would really maximize the stroke back and forth. Here, I mean, it's amazing that it can travel that much distance. I can show you as well. I can get it to basically slap, meaning it'll hit each magnet on each side there. There you go. And you can see the whole structure is moving back and forth there, just resting on those rolls. So the thing, I haven't changed anything. It's got quite a bit of power for utilizing less than a quarter of a watt. All right, imagine 1 watt in there. I mean, the thing would. But what happens though, as I raise the frequency, well, the change over of, polarity flip starts to happen too fast, and then the magnet can't reach each end. So what would have to happen at that point is more power input. But I mean, the stroke doesn't need to be that huge, like it is right now. This is 6 inches apart it's traveling, so that's quite a bit. Anyways, thought I'd share that and make other people think of different motor configurations, and that's about it. So I'll be working with other coils, maybe that are longer and stuff like that. And so that's about it for now. I think that's continue doing some research on this electric motor, and the idea is designing my own motor for converting my vehicle to an electric vehicle. And I want to find a motor that is actually more efficient than just regular DC motors that one could buy. And I have a feeling that we can get the efficiency up quite a bit better than what they are at this time. So I'll continue experimenting and posting what I find on new electric motor concepts. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.